GCN, the world leader in independent talk radio. The year is 2020. Following several decades of systematically weakening the social, moral, and financial resilience of the American people, the global cabal has launched a series of unimaginable terrors that has rocked the foundation of Western civilization and has fractured the population of a once united country along increasingly irreconcilable lines. The nation finds herself on the brink of biotechnocratic enslavement. The final takedown order has been issued. The direct attack has begun. America's greatest trial and the battle for...
Do not wish this life to pass away. Well, life presents such possibilities each and every day. I heard a calling that was right for me. I prayed for strength for what's ahead of me. You show me the way. The sun rose high and burned the night away. My enemy, don't tread on me. He's come to take away my liberties. I'd rather die than be a slave to thee. Don't treat me this way. I'd rather die than be your slave. I will survive. Can you feel my rage? It's not a question of being brave. I'd rather die than be your slave. Didn't matter who shot us that day. They killed my brothers, they lay dead by me. Hit them hard, we made them pay that day. We hung the traitors from the highest tree. Mercy from lost a lot, our pain was heavy. Sacrifice for God and country. He held the ground that was in front of me. This was the price to pay for liberty. Still you hear me say, I'd rather die than be your slave. I will survive. And you feel my rage. It's not a question of being brave. I'd rather die than be your slave. Much time has passed, we repeat history. Our toys have changed while man has stayed the same. People in history, tribal families rule not over me. I will not let them break my liberty. We'll tie for them today. I'll die and be your slave. I will survive. And you feel my rage. Is that a question of being brave? I'd rather die than be your slave. I'd rather die than be your slave.
buckets to turn on the dikes because we are going live. Make sure everybody is hearing us out there, okay?
Is everybody in?
Oh boy,
Everybody
howdy boys
in.
and girls, another week in more bullshit. Well, there's a lot of bullshit going around everywhere.
I saw some cows pooping earlier, so I can attest to that.
Have you seen any bulls?
Oh, by the way, Daryl, you have us waiting and are not live. Well, that's because I hadn't pushed to go live. I just had the picture up so I would know that we were ready to go when I pushed live. That's why.
Can everybody hear me? It's Scott. Can you hear me?
Daryl, your mic. My mic is goofing up on me again. All right. How's that? Does that sound any better?
I don't dare turn my phone on.
Sound is 5 by 5. Yes, Scotty, you're okay, Scotty. Yeah, we got a full house tonight. And
I don't work tomorrow, so I'm drinking on a Sunday. I love Sunday drinking.
Cannabis, M&M, and pipe smoke.
Those are no longer M&Ms. They are Patriot pills.
Yes, these are Patriot pills, Emmy. They are red, white, and blue. Notice, red, white, and blue, no black. Anyway.
Does that mean black M&Ms don't matter?
No, they don't matter. I have an interesting... There, I don't know if you can see them now or not.
The camera's up there. You hold that up to the computer like it's,
I don't know if you can see
Yeah, I
it.
can see.
Smell like smoking. Smell like Hershey's candy. Chocolate!
Gee, I wonder why.
There, can you see them, kids? Red, white, and blue. Okay.
Oh no.
Oh,
The
yeah.
red pills.
Red pills?
Red one. Yeah.
Years ago, a cub reporter for the Meadville Tribune here in town did an interview about what was my feelings about what was going on, because at the time when I was pretty outspoken and all that kind of stuff.
Is that the one where you were on the front page and they had your picture look like a rifle scope?
No. No, that was, well, the story ended up on the Washington Compost.
Oh boy.
But that's racist, Nero. Hey. Anyhow, she was paying attention to what's going on in the country today, but she was getting ready to write another article. And she was in her process of doing back history and research, come across the story that she wrote. And she read it. And she goes, oh my God. Okay. The stuff that he was talking about back then is happening right now.
Amazing.
That's one of the worst things you can do to tell Mr. Civic that he was right about something. It just goes downhill from there. It makes matters worse.
I'm not doing that to blow my own smoke, okay? So she wanted to do another interview, a follow-up. So we did it on the phone for an hour yesterday. She's going to send me the original story so that our next show I should have it, and I'll read what I said then, and hopefully by then she'll have the second story done. She's thinking of calling it, Is This Prophecy? Okay.
But Daryl said prophecy.
Like I say, I'm not telling you because I'm wanting to blow my own horn. I just want to let you guys know what's coming up. And I hear a pop of a bottle. Oh my God. Well, turkey. Really should. I will. But
Just a little bit. Want to smell the cork? I know you're not drinking.
papers won't hurt you, will they? They'll keep your lungs clean. That way the coronavirus can't
Fights off the
survive.
COVID. I was talking with the doctor the other day where I work, and we come to the realization if you test positive for COVID and it's only in your nose, if you only have nose COVID, it's Novid.
Novid?
Novid.
No, nobody's business.
Novid.
No business.
Novid.
Novid.
You got COVID? No, I got COVID.
All right, I do this. I think I mentioned this the last time I drank here. Not to interrupt, but I have to. Because Mike was such a whiskey guy, aficionado, snob of sorts, he always busted my chops for putting ice in it. It should be drinking neat. So from when he passed till this day, every first glass of whiskey I have for the day is always neat. And after my first sip, I say, "Fuck you, Mike." There. I did it. Fuck you, Michael. There.
Feel better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the show's adjourned until next week.
Anyway, next week's Labor Day.
Okay, next week is Labor Day. I'm glad you brought that up because we will not be here. I'm hoping to do some finishing preparations at the undisclosed location. And we just have 2 water pipes to solder, and then we got water going through the whole shooting match.
I think I've said this before as well. If somebody sends me a certain amount of nice brown liquor, I will disclose the previously undisclosed location.
We can't do that until we move to the new undisclosed location.
Oh, okay. I don't even know. I couldn't. I've been there a handful of times, and I'm so geographically retarded I couldn't remember how to get there.
Well, anyway, I like it because it is secluded. And by the time they get in there to get me, they've got to go over Grand Canyon and the Great Lakes and a couple of goat trails to get to the new place. By that time, they'd be with them. So anyway, it is a nice location. And most of the people up there are on the same wavelength.
I was trying to explain to one of my coworkers kind of the general location of where this place is because I talked to them about going up, and they're like, "Well, where is it?" I'm like, "Well, it's, if you know where BF is, keep going for another 10 minutes. That you might be close then, because it's out in the middle of no goddamn where."
And everybody asked me, and I told the story. How did you find the place?
By accident.
No, it wasn't by accident. It was by divine guidance. I told the wife after we received some inheritance that I was going to invest it in a camp because when I was a kid, my dad had a camp and we had to give it up.
It was a nice camp. I liked it.
Yeah, actually, it's summer home.
Yeah, it wasn't just a camp. It may have been a camp at one time, but by the time your father had passed, there was like multiple floors and he had sold off a lot of it. There was
a triple stall garage.
Yeah, there was wasn't there a hot tub there at one time?
No, he didn't put the hot tub in. I don't think. No, there wasn't a hot tub.
I thought for sure you had told me there was a jacuzzi or a hot tub or something.
I think that's what he was going to do next, which would be a long drive to go use. But anyway, I would have done it if he put it in here. But one good hiccup deserves another.
What I really liked was the whole downstairs. It wasn't like tongue and groove cherry. It was like heavy duty, not just paneling. It was like
they call it tongue and groove paneling.
But it was like half-inch or 3/4 inch thick wood.
It was regular wood with the tongue and groove in it to fit together. And people would use that on the floor. This was put on the walls.
Yes, it was solid.
That's where over the years I come up with that idea of using T111 as the finish on your wall. That's the way I've done my my family room up here when I build it or rebuild it because we had a leak in the roof. So we put T111 on the walls and the ceiling, and then I made my own molding, and it really has an old time look. Let's just put it that way.
I remember something from that camp. I was only there 2 or 3 times, but I remember it was always for around deer season. That place made me fart like crazy.
Everybody.
Something about it.
Everybody.
I mean, literally. I don't know if it was something in the wood or. Honest to God, and I was a teenager when I went out.
It was almost like a scene on a Blazing Saddle where they sit around the fire eating their beans.
Oh my God, it was horrific. The place was like, it smelled like a wet dog fart the whole time you were up there. And I at the time I did not drink. I was 16 or probably 17. It was before I went in the Army. So, I don't know.
Anyway.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. We're getting the bullshit sections out of the way as much as we can. Anyway, getting back to that story, I will have the one story in 2 weeks, and hopefully by the time maybe I'll have both of them. I don't know. The girl said she was going to send it to me. So,
yep, that's my phone.
yeah.
I thought I would check to see what it would do, but
Emmy, last week's chat, I went to bring up my show last week and was not on there. I don't know why it wasn't there, because there's a couple of shows that I've done that the chat was there, so I have no idea why or why not. I'll have to do some more research on it, but I've been busy. We've been busy cutting firewood. The township dropped me off another load of firewood here about last week, and well, this morning my wife and I spent 2 hours cutting firewood, cutting and splitting. And as well, you guys out there in the audience can't see, but as Mr. T and Mike can or Scott can tell you,
it's my brother.
Yeah, I haven't even put a friggin' dent in it.
Oh no, yeah.
We filled the garage up, and we got about a full cord out there cut and stacked, but we have probably another full cord or more, too.
I would say more.
Yeah.
This morning when you guys were hard at work, I made homemade sausage gravy and biscuits. Well, the biscuits were out of a can. And then I took a nap. Because I was kind of hungover. Still am a little bit.
Yeah, I know it has to be something in the setup. I mean, I haven't figured out what it is, but I'll keep playing with it, and eventually I will find out what I did, and we'll get her back. And Mr. T, why don't you move that camera just a little bit so you get less of me and get more of Scott?
I'm fine with not being on there.
That's all right. It needs to be over a little bit more anyhow.
Let me get your arm.
Yeah, we're only getting your arm. They need to see your beard. Last week, all I could see was my nose.
Oh, Lord.
Filled in for. Right there. Good. That'll do. I can see your shorts. Play with the mic. Trying to give a mic a drink.
Mike is thirsty.
Cannabis. Thanks. Okay. Like I say, sweetheart, for some reason this computer doesn't work the same as the one that broke, and hopefully I can get that one fixed. I have somebody supposed to be looking at it, but a footnote of good news. A gentleman that I've known for years, I haven't seen for quite a while, I'm going to say 15, 16 years, come by this afternoon. I made a little donation to the radio station.
Well, that was nice of him.
Yeah, he dropped off $50. Okay. That helps a bunch. And, but
Yeah, it is.
One last thing before we start on more current stuff. In that interview, I mentioned to the young girl that we are doing our show live on YouTube. So she was supposedly going to try in and tune in tonight. So hopefully she does. And but it'll also be in the probably mentioned in the story, which would be a good idea because we may be able to help boost our YouTube attendance. Empty matches. I know I used it. So, okay, Mr. T, since I took up 20 minutes here ranting and raving, you got anything you want to start with?
Well, just a little local news. Somebody on my Facebook post made mention of a BLM march in Edinburgh today, starting at 1 o'clock. I didn't know if you guys had heard anything. This guy was saying, patriots, come out and show, show your defiance, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's my thing. I lived in Edinburgh for 4 years. No one gives two fucks about anything but drugs and alcohol in the town. Nobody.
The thing that I look at it this way. If you know that there is a demonstration going on, and if you want to go and participate as long as it's peaceful, I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is if they have this particular thing going on, Black Lives Matter, and you as a opposing group go as an instigation to counter-protest and cause problems.
You're just giving them the press that they
You're
want.
giving it, yes, you're giving the press that they want, and you're giving the momentum they want to get the police departments disbanded in this country. And we have some stories about that kind of shit. You're playing right into their hands. So the best thing to do is just stay away so that they can go do whatever they want to do. And if they break the law, then the law should crack down on them because protests are fine as long as you do not hurt, injure, or damage anybody's property. Once you do that, you cross the line. You are no longer a peaceful protest. You are an angry mob, and you should be arrested and treated as an angry mob. So,
Here's a good way to get you to shut up and let him do some talking.
okay. No, I had a very starchy supper tonight. We made a spaghetti casserole.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Okay, with pepperoni and hamburger in it.
Nice.
And
Heavy.
mozzarella cheese. Yeah, tasted really good.
Your wife, Kathy, was the first person, and the only person I've ever had her lasagna that she put pepperoni in. I mean, it makes perfect sense, but it was, I loved it.
Yeah, we use a lot of pepperoni, mainly because we have a store in town. I'm sorry, Mr. T. We'll get to you. Just bear tight. We promise we'll get to you before your beard grows. We have a store in town that sells big bags of already sliced pepperoni.
Your big bulk bags, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now it may not be very even sliced. You might get chunks like that. You get your regular thin slices or whatever, but it's like a 10-pound bag for like $6. Okay, now if anybody buys pepperoni in a stick, it's like $3 or $4 a pound. Okay, so we buy it that way, and we use it a lot.
Well, just one quick thing, and then I'll let you go. Just to help you get over, to understand things. I know you understand things, but just consider him like an old, long-winded first sergeant. All right, Top, enough. And then you're standing there, or sergeant major, or whatever.
Or commander doing either the change of command, either the outgoing or incoming.
Oh, Jesus. When I got back from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, we went from 1st AD, 1st Armored Division, to 3rd ID. So we did like 5 or 6 different monstrous change of command ceremonies in these huge airfields. And we had all just gotten back from the Gulf, and we were all pretty much 90% of the time just drunk. If we weren't at work, we were drunk. Then we'd show up the next day. All right, we have a change of command ceremony, and we'd end up on this huge airfield for like 4 hours at attention while they say, did the same speech in like 5 different languages and different national anthems. And just like, Jesus God, I want to die. I'm done.
Okay, my turn.
That's all I have to say about that.
If you've been paying attention to gun sales, and you haven't? Why not?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because I have all the guns I need.
Oh. Or I've been interested in buying a gun and buying ammunition. Just to let you know that since January 1st through into June this year, nearly 5 million people bought guns for the first time.
5 million.
At almost 5 million new gun owners between January
Good Lord.
and the end of June.
That's
this year.
almost equal to a whole year's normal purchase.
Wow.
That's a
So-
set of guns.
Another reason why you perhaps can't find the weapon of your choice because
There ain't none.
there ain't that.
Not to interrupt, but to inject something here, since you're talking about the guns. Ammo is non-existent. I had a gentleman come up yesterday, a friend of mine. He happens to be a naturalized Jordanian citizen of the United States. He is a Christian. And we've known each other for a long time. And he came up yesterday because he has postponed doing what I've been trying to tell people to do, so now he's in the catch-up mode.
And as so many of us are.
Right. So, he was telling me that he bought his wife a particular type of handgun, and he went to try and buy some ammo for it. Now, he only bought her a 22 because that's all she can handle. Apparently that's it.
Well, people are scared of the big boot.
Right. But he's had her shoot the big boom, but this is all she can seem to be able to handle. Well, he went looking for a 22 long rifle ammo. Found a shop down around where he's at, I won't mention where it was, that had a brick of 22s. The guy had the nerve to charge him $110 for a 500 round brick of 22s.
Whoa.
I remember seeing at Montgomery Ward's on the shelf. They had like the big milk cartons, like the old Whoppers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like 500 rounds for like 84 cents.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I told him, I said, well, gee, I said, I wish you'd have called me because I said, I have some 22s on the shelf. And he says, well, how much? I said, well, one of them's $40 for 500, and I think the other's $45 for 500. And so he come over, he looked at me and says, I'll take them both. I said, that's fine. You can have them both. He said, I did not realize this. I did not realize when you were telling me to do this that you had this stuff. And I says, this is how I try to make a little bit of a living. As ammo, magazines, and knives. And so ammo is non-existent, and neither is the reloading components.
Well, something. I apologize. I really do.
Okay.
I saw something back when the first big spike happened. I think it was under Obama, where there was a gun guy that came on. It was a YouTube. He spouted some serious truth. He's like, "There's no shortage. It's just people are hoarding it. These people are, these these guys who can afford to buy, these salespeople that can afford to buy a pallet of it. They have it in their garage, and they're just waiting, and then they just put out a little bit at a time. Oh, that's all I can get.
But that is a shortage because they are trying to profiteer off of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So they are creating a shortage. Yeah.
So turn your mic off and let the man speak. Quit interrupting him. Interjecting him with your poison.
That's what this show's all about. Stepping on everybody's toes.
Anyway, going on with gun ownership and protests. Polk County, Florida. Sheriff Grady Judd affirmed that he's all for peaceful protests, but he had a simple, straightforward advice for citizens when a demonstration turns violent and threatens their homes. He said that, quote, the people of Polk County like guns. They have guns. And I encourage them to own guns and to use them. Okay, they are going to be in their homes tonight with guns loaded. And if you try to break into their homes to steal, to set fires, I am highly recommended they blow you back out the house, their house with guns.
I think I have the story in there.
While the sheriff said that people have the right to express themselves, they are expected to do so in a peaceful manner. Sheriff Judd wanted to say that to potential protesters, let there be no misunderstanding at all. If you come here to riot, meaning Polk County, Florida, to loot, to injure people, we are going to lock you up in the county jail.
Not to take away from your story, but that speech was actually given back right at the beginning of that whole Chaz craziness and when all this nonsense first started. Mind you, he's right. I'm not arguing.
I just saw that article.
It just got posted this past
Well,
week.
I've seen the video multiple times. And the guy's very matter of fact. He's like, listen, I encourage you. Shoot them. Kill them. Blow their asses. Blow their ungodly, unholy asses right out the building.
Well, he's taking the stance in which it should be. He realizes he can't be everywhere at once. So it's up to you to defend yourself. It's always been up to you to defend yourself. And if you wait for the police to be able to get there to defend you, you will be dead. So, but anyway, go ahead.
Last week we finished the Republican National Convention. Before that was the Democratic National Convention. And there's been a lot of talk about Antifa.
Every time I can, fresh meat on the hoof.
I checked this out. If you go to your computer and you type in Antifa.com, ANTIFA.com, it will take you to the Biden-Harris campaign site. They're looking for donations at the Biden-Harris campaign site. So now we know for sure what party Antifa supports.
Well, was there any?
Well, not for me, no. But other people, they might have some doubt. Hopefully not.
Sir.
Easy does it.
Yeah.
I only brought one of those. My apologies.
That comes from way down. Catherine didn't enjoy that.
That's why I figuring you'd take it for later. You can share it with her.
I'll share that Yingling with her.
I got two of those.
She likes Yingling.
I made a batch of beer bread out of one of those cans. It was very good. And something else, while you're sorting, I made a couple of batches of beer bread last weekend.
And you ate it all.
Well, I think I ate most of it, then I had to end up throwing one of the loaves half away.
Why?
Well, it just got kind of yucky. But here's my point. In the recipe, it calls for 3 cups of flour and all the other.
Back the mic around again, huh?
as well as some salt and yada yada yada. What I did was I used 2 cups of flour and 1 cup of oats to make it a little heavier and heartier. It turned out really well. I was happy. So if you're out there, Google, beer bread recipe, and it's like the easiest thing ever. You don't have to worry about using yeast. It's a heavy bread, kind of like a nut bread or a zucchini bread.
Yeah, it's probably best for you too.
It's good. Not a whole lot of carbs, not a whole lot of sugar anyhow, but it's easy to make and it takes about an hour and 15 minutes total. Mr. T, I will not talk again for 30 seconds.
Who said it's a waste of good beer? It's just another way of consuming the good beer.
I'll do one more. I don't know anybody, how many people saw this past week. But Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf made a public statement on August the 27th, stating and clarifying that Antifa is absolutely meets the standards to be classified as a domestic terrorist organization. Now, while Mr. Wolf did not exactly state exactly what the standards are, we know that Antifa has targeted businesses, government buildings, and law enforcement personnel and government officials, which, according to Mr. Wolf, is a definition of domestic terrorism. So that's good enough for me. Now, Mr. Wolf did mention, or that's not our Governor Wolf, but Mr. Chad Wolf, Homeland Security, did mention that while federal agencies are more than willing to help out in any capacity that they may be needed, it's ultimately up to the local and state police to maintain and promote the public order in their own jurisdictions. Well, we know that Democratic mayors and Democratic governors are not doing their job to stop violent protesters and rioters, but they have told the police to stand down. Stand down, leave the rioters alone. Now, I found this last paragraph interesting. Mr. Chad Wolf did state that in the absence of sufficient actions to quell the riots by local authorities, quote, individuals have the right to protect themselves and their businesses and what they have worked all their lives to build. Okay, again, fine with me. To me, that means if I have to be another Kyle Rittenhouse, I have to shoot to defend myself, my family, and my property and possessions, then so be it.
I feel so bad for that kid. I really do. Because
there are trumped up charges. Because you look at
aside from the charges that he the situation he's dealing with is reprehensible, but he took 2 lives. For a seasoned vet, it's hard to deal with. For a 17-year-old, going through all that shit in life, trying to do the right thing, the right and honorable thing, as Dr. Joyce Riley used to say. He's got to be. Just in turmoil. His life is being completely dissected. I wish he had not been in the situation that he was in, but he did the best he could with what he had at the time. And he's now a demon. He's being called a Nazi for shooting 3 white guys. I don't know.
I've seen the video or videos.
I think we've all.
Now, I understand he was supposed to be help guarding this building belonging to somebody. Okay? Somebody's friend. And apparently he saw something going on. He thought maybe people needed help in a first aid kit. He was going to go try to help them. Then backed off because the rioters were moving in his direction. He wanted to get back to the group. And then he tripped over his feet. Okay. And then he got swarmed upon. Okay. Now, someone may say, a skateboard is not a dangerous weapon. I understand this. Not too easily. Another location, a skateboard was used and actually killed a guy. Okay. And as you see, the skateboard, it's hitting him on the left side of his head and shoulder area. And this thing was after he's been stomped on by somebody else, so he had every right to defend himself. And the guy that newspapers said, well, he had a cell phone. And the stills that I saw in the video too, I got a pistol to me.
Yeah. It's just I honest, like I said, I just feel so bad for that kid because he's gonna have to live with, yeah, he was justified, but that still doesn't change the fact that he took a human life, and that weighs heavy on a man's soul.
I was going to say, you cannot. Just talking to the girl yesterday. She was asking me about that, and I said, well, he said, that's something that kid's going to have to live with the rest of his life, is the fact that he took of human life. I said, you ask soldiers to come back from combat, and a lot of them are suffering the ill effects of having to, or have the knowledge of knowing that they may have had to kill somebody. Okay, and it is a terrible thing because in the some of the stories or some of the questions that people think that the militia is just out there waiting to kill somebody. And I said, no, the militias aren't out there waiting to kill somebody. And just because a person has a gun does not mean he's anxious to kill somebody. Okay, that's the last thing that they want to do, because then that's a terrible thing that you have to live with the rest of your life. And that's why you have so much problem with
PTSD.
Yeah, post-traumatic stress syndrome.
There's a retired Army colonel, lieutenant colonel named Grossman. Not him. You guys may have even crossed paths. You guys were about the same time. He was an infantry officer, and he got a doctor, either a PhD or doctorate in psychology, and he's written a couple of books. One's called On Killing, and then the second companion book is called On Combat. And he interviewed, as many. I think he actually interviewed 1 or 2 World War I vets, but mostly World War II and Korean and Vietnam veterans. He just go to VFWs and just start chit-chatting with guys, and then they would find out he was writing books and he was a professor, and he's like, tell me your story. And and all these Hollywood shows, depict guys, in these great firefights and shooting and just all of this, but like a good 90% of them talked about how the first time they pulled a trigger in combat, they pissed their pants. It's like, and these are the guys that were like the greatest generation, World War II guys that were fighting Nazis, and they don't tell people this. They tell other veterans.
Because they're glorifying war.
Well, it's just, they were brought up in the generation where you come home, you don't talk about bad stuff. You talk about, yeah, me and the boys, we found a case of Burgundy, and I had a bunch
cellar or wine cellar.
But you don't talk about the fact that the first time you had to draw on another man, whether or not you actually shot him or not, you sold yourself. That's, it's not part of the whole masculine thing. And these guys opened up to him. He's like, so many of them, they realized after the firefight, they were actually shooting above everybody was shooting above each other's heads because they were just, and it weighs on their heart. They had, it goes against human instinct to kill another person. And we do it because of training, and that's it, because of training. Normally you don't. You go to great lengths to, the whole fight or flight thing. You just you do your best to get out of that situation, like that kid was doing. He was trying to get the hell out of there, and he fell down. He's like, well, it's either me or him. And he did the right thing. He did the smart thing. But he's going to have to live with that shit for the rest of his life. Lieutenant Colonel Grossman, On Combat, or On Killing and On Combat. Great reads. It honestly changed my, it helped me get through a lot of the stuff that I was feeling as a veteran being in a combat situation. I don't ever think I really felt that I had PTSD, but going through infantry training and all of this other, it made me understand how I felt the way, or why I felt the way I felt.
See, my mom's older brother fought in Korea, and my grandfather drank. Both uncles drank.
Not me.
I assume they learned it from the dad. But I didn't know till before I deployed to Iraq. My uncle called from Ireland, because he had moved to Ireland a few years earlier. He had called from Ireland to talk to me and told me that he had locked up his mind for years. I never knew until he called me what he went through during the Korean War. And
veterans will talk with other veterans.
at least I never saw him exhibit any kind of problems. When I saw him, there, for years we lived down in the Philadelphia area, so we saw him quite frequently and back and forth. And of course, he retired from. He ended up being a fuel tank driver for Esso, then Exxon, and then finally retired. And his wife moved to the home country, Florida. But until he called me, and he said, "I'm going to send you a prayer card that Nana, his mom, my grandmother, gave to him before he left for Korea." So I got in the mail, took that prayer card, put it in a plastic bag, and kept it in my upper left breast pocket. My uniform, and I changed uniform.
I had a couple of different things I had tucked up inside my Kevlar. I had one of those cushions inside, and I
You didn't have a cushion.
it caused me a headache.
I think I had two. One.
Regardless.
I've seen here while you guys were talking that the founders, it's back here a ways, founders of Black Lives Matter, one of them was a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
She has now announced that her and her fellow ilk were devout Marxists.
Well, I've seen that. Actually, it's been out, but there's some.
So that's telling you where these people are coming from.
And
They want communism in this country, and they're willing to destroy it to get it.
but they don't understand. Have they actually talked with people that lived under real communism?
If you look at and read, what was the book, Lenin or Marx's book on communism, okay, it presents an ideal utopia of picture of everybody sharing everything, okay, but
It never works out.
it doesn't work out because it's always been applied with tyranny. Because once people wake up and see, well, I'm working and earning this much, but I only get to keep this much because I have to give this much away to somebody else who may not be working and carrying his end, but I have to help support him. Gee, doesn't it sound like the welfare system in this country?
Well,
Okay, but
isn't that why all the hippie communes from the 60s went out? Because there was like 10 people doing their best and 50 people smoking dope and watching TV.
yeah. So it doesn't work because only a few will put in the effort and the rest suck it off.
Kind of like your Chinese prostitutes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, anybody remember the name Angela Davis?
Yeah, I remember her.
No. Enlighten us.
Underground.
Black activist, protester from the 70s, late 60s or 70s.
Wasn't she with the Weather Underground?
Yeah, I figure. Anyway, the article listed her as Marxist professor Angela Davis, who teaches in California. Imagine that. Okay. She has stated here recently that the BLM riots are a, quote, rehearsal for USA revolution, unquote.
Oh, settling.
Patty Hearst, whose father made the millions in the publishing business of one sort or another. Well, I'm going to do a sum up here. I'm not going to read the whole story because we only got 10 minutes left. But back in June
June of what year?
this year,
Okay.
lots of this year,
It's ancient history.
DOJ, June attack on New York PD cops was Islamic terror. Illegal alien used protest as cover.
Ooh, imagine that.
Okay. Oh my.
Actually, I read that article. I didn't count it.
Yeah, okay. The man who attacked several New York police department officers earlier this year is an illegal immigrant and Islamic extremist who used the chaos or the reason protests to cover his action the Department of Justice said Wednesday. Back in June, during the early days of the anti-police demonstrations still rolling the country, excuse me, an individual now identified as Desmond Homidek approached two Brooklyn cops and stabbed them, one of them in the neck, according to the DOJ. After stabbing the first officer, Kovac chased the second officer, lunged at him, and attempted to stab him, the department said in the news release. Camovac, I guess it's Camobic, alphabet, then ran back to Officer 1, attacked him, forced control Officer number 1's firearm, and fired multiple shots at Officer number 2 and the other officer who had responded to the scene. Responding officers not only shot him and took him into custody. Several officers were wounded during Alphabet's attack and robbery, including officers 2 who were shot in the head. Okay, you have to start wondering. This makes you start to wonder how many of these incidents, rioters or whatever, are foreign immigrants, and they're here to do. They used to have a name for them. They're called fifth colonists. You immigrate into a country, behave yourself until a certain situation arises, and then you go and do the bidding. They call it Black Ops now, but it used to be fifth column or whatever. So then you do the bidding of what you were sent there to do. The riot comes, you use that as cover, figuring maybe, just maybe, I can do this and get away with it and live to strike another day. Well, you have to wonder, you have to think, how many situations of these riots, how many of them are there?
I honestly believe that it's very low. Just out of just personal belief. I think it's just there's so much us versus them mentality out there in the workplace, in everywhere, that there's these people that have this belief that they were wronged, or that Uncle Sam owes them or society owes them, that they're just going to use this as a chance to fucking be a dick. And that's what they're doing.
I think some people, they see a protest, and, hey, let's go join the protest. Or join in the riot.
Get some free stuff.
Just to get something. Hey, they're breaking that store. Hey, let's go over there and see what we can get.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It was in, where was it? In not Minneapolis. It was just recently. There was a guy that committed suicide. But the story was leaked that the cops killed the guy. And the first thing that all these idiots did was they looted the local Target. First thing.
Yeah.
And there was video of these people run through, and there was not a white face in sight. Not trying to be racist, just saying. Just the facts, man.
Well,
and that goes with my next thing. Any of y'all have YouTube out there, especially with your smart TVs, here's something fun. On my Fire Stick, I can log into YouTube. You can go into the search function and search Dragnet full episodes. You can get every single one of the episodes, all the way back to the late 50s, mid 50s. It's fun. It's shitty actual recording because it's because it is what it is. It's a good way to just disconnect. Kind of like Westerns. It's typical. But Jack, that guy, like Jack Webb, is that the guy's name?
Yeah, Jack Webb.
He directed, produced, and I didn't realize it goes all the way back to the original Dragnet was radio.
Yep.
I didn't know that until I watched
a lot of the early TV series that came about are a direct result of series on radio.
And that's where the whole soap opera thing came from, because they were all sponsored by But at any rate, I'm just saying, if you want to disconnect and have some fun and not think about how goofy our world is right now, YouTube Dragnet full episodes. And you can watch him lecture these. Son, listen, you're all hopped up on goofballs. You need to get your life together. You need to think about Uncle Sam and Mom and apple pie. It's fun. I'm going outside, Pete.
Okay, it's better than doing it in here. Too many witnesses.
Well, I have an adult garment on, but I don't want to soil it yet.
Anyway, we got about 4 minutes to the top of the hour. You have to understand, folks. You gotta pay attention. You gotta do the research to find that we're under a full slot Marxist assault on our country, and it's not going to end until one of two things happen. The government totally capitulates, or the people themselves rise up and unfortunately chase the Marxists out of this country. One way or another, whether it be in a pine box, the end of a bayonet, or whatever, but to chase them out of this country. Any last comment for the hour?
Yeah. Came across a thing called leftist privilege. Okay, now leftists include the Democratic Party, BLM, and Black Lives Matter is probably one that really comes to mind. But leftist privilege. One, believing you have the right to control other people's lives. Number two, believing you have the right to be insulated from others' opinions. Three, believing when you take offense, others have to care that you've taken offense. And four, believing that there are two sets of rules. Rules for you and rules for everybody else. Okay. That is leftist privilege. That's what BLM supports. That's what the Democratic Party supports. That's what the Communist Party supports. Red pill. That's what actually probably too many people believe in a socialist society. Hey, I have privileges. People owe me things.
I take the red pill. Will it wake me up and make me question what's going on? No. Okay.
And as I've seen comments by people on different things that this guy has got to be a leftist of some kind, Democrat, Communist Party, whatever, because they just believe too much that, hey, society owes me. No, society doesn't owe you a thing.
Yeah, well, I see where now there's a couple of communities now that come along feeling that they need to pay slave reparations. There's a couple big businesses now that come along and said that blacks need slave reparations if they can trace their ancestors back to the slaves. But throughout this whole matter about the slaves and slave reparations and all that, you're forgetting one key factor. There was probably as many white slaves in this country as there were black slaves, especially at the time of the founding. The population of this country was
the Irish.
Well, they were sent over here on indentured service. If you don't know what that means, it is you are a slave until such time as you worked off a certain amount of debt, regardless of whether it was because you sold yourself into it to get here or whether you were ordered here by the courts of Europe and then auctioned off to pay the fine that went to the crown. Right, went to the crown. And once you worked off your servitude, then you were free. And then you have all throughout history. Every time somebody conquered another country, they always took slaves. So blacks are not the only ones that were slave.
Well, there's still a slave trade now over in Africa.
Oh yeah.
Black on black.
Black guys are enslaving other.
Okay, it's 7:00. We're gonna take a minute break here.
Okay.
I'm not even gonna try to put music on. I just
I will sing to you for all of your entertainment because I love Jesus and my mother too. Never mind.
Remember, you saw it here first on MMA.
Live from Northwest Pennsylvania, it's Braveheart Radio with Jackass 1, Jackass 2, and Jackass Supreme number 3.
Holy jackass. Isn't that a bunch of donkey shit?
I've had a few cocktails. I'm a little wound up.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy guess.
Go figure.
So,
We're during a break. We're kind of discussing the comments in the chat room. My grandparents on my father's side legally immigrated into the United States from Canada.
goddamn runaway.
It's under his boot. Or under his shoe.
And someone in my family tree, before they migrated, somewhere, and I remember the exact year, married an Algonquin woman. Okay, so I have some Native American heritage. My mom's parents legally migrated from Ireland to the United States, and how did they meet? They both ended up working as servants in his rich person's household. They were indentured servants, but that's how they met. They worked as servants in this guy's household. Guy had money. That's how they met.
Did you see this story, Scott? You want to do this one? I know you saw it. George Soros.
Yep, one moment. I'm insulting your son real quick.
Oh, I had that one. Oh, I wrote it down. Yeah, go ahead.
I got to figure out how my printer to stop printing pictures.
Actually, what she says ties in with what you said earlier.
All right, this is according to this DA. It says Soros DA, don't charge looters who needed stolen goods. Looters see. There's a picture of a couple, three folks stealing a bunch of stuff out of a store of some sort, and it looked like a health and beauty store. Like, I think this gal has like a bunch of weaves, like hair extensions. One of many progressive district attorneys financially supported by left-wing billionaire George Soros requires police officers to consider whether a looter needed stolen goods before charging. Diana Becton, who is in her first term as DA of Contra Costa County in California, has implemented major changes in the way the office is run, the way crimes are charged, and how aggressively cases are prosecuted. One recent change is how people are charged in looting cases. Her deputy DA, Nichelle Holmes, recently made social media posts proclaiming, "We want more than a citation for vandalism for the couple who painted over a Black Lives Matter mural in her jurisdiction." The office later charged the couple with a hate crime. Becton teamed with 4 other black female DAs backed by Soros, including St. Louis's Kim Gardner and Chicago's Kim Fox, in co-authoring a Politico op-ed Tuesday explaining their philosophy in an 11-point plan Wait a minute, an 11-point plan, period. Okay. I thought that was a comma. Gardner has charged Mark and Patricia McCloskey for brandishing weapons as they were threatened by Black Lives Matter protests at their home. Fox is known for dropping charges against Jussie Smollett in the high-profile hoax assault case. You will probably know the Mark and Patricia McCloskey because their video made national news. The 5 prosecutors contended America's criminal legal system was constructed to control black people and people of color. Its injustices are not new, but are deeply rooted in our country's shameful history of slavery and legacy of racial violence. The system is acting exactly as it was intended to, and that is the problem, they wrote. We should know we're black, we're female, and we're prosecutors. We work as the gatekeepers in this flawed system, and we have some ideas for how to fix it. They wrote that they are working from within to begin to rectify past wrongs. Problem number 3,215 of this article. According to them, we are implementing policies that include declining to prosecute minor offenses, overturning wrongful convictions, refusing to take cases from officers with a history of racial bias, and expunging marijuana convictions, they said. We are currently working within our own offices to make the system fairer and more just. Among the racial equity-minded policies are looting guidelines that Red State acquired through a confidential source and was verified by a separate source. In California, a looting charge essentially increases the severity of a burglary or theft charge if it occurred during a state of emergency. A looting charge can be filed as a misdemeanor or a felony and is punishable by up to 3 years in jail. Essentially, deputy district attorneys and law enforcement officers must go through a flow chart including a psychological and financial analysis to determine if looting charges should be filed. Factors to consider include whether the theft was committed for financial gain or personal need. Jennifer Van Laar of Red State noted there are numerous cities and counties in which Soros-backed DAs are up for election this year. Their potential constituents need to realize that these are not garden variety leftists running for district attorney. They are revolutionaries committed to destroying our justice system, she wrote. There ends the article.
Well, yeah. You know what they used to do with looters before we became so civilized? They used to shoot them. Okay? If you were in a had a natural disaster, hurricane, earthquake, fire, whatever, and you got caught looting, you were shot on the spot.
There was not too many years ago, whatever the hurricane was, there was painted on one of the walls of a building, you loot, we shoot.
And this is how our system has dissolved, not evolved, but dissolved, because we are now allowing people to say, well, gee, he may have needed that, so he's in the time of riot he stole it. Well,
when you steal 35 pair of Nikes from a Target, you don't need that.
Well, you got your family members, your cousins, you got.
Yeah, you got your whole family, the whole clan. So
neighbors.
Yeah, but
they all need shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the point of it is, I don't care if you need it or not. Okay, you don't steal it.
We're not talking about a loaf of bread. I mean, if somebody goes into a store and steals a loaf of bread or a jar of pickles during a riot, as a cop, I'm like, you know what? There's a guy over here stealing a flat screen TV. I think, I would focus on that person versus that. But when you have cops saying, we were ordered out of an entire district, let them go. Let them do whatever they want. Screw you and everybody else around you.
What does that do? That promotes more of that same action.
Well,
because the police are not doing anything.
Case in point, there was, I forget where it was. I think it was in Wisconsin? No. Within the last week, there was a guy that committed suicide. But the rumor got out that the police killed him. The first thing these idiots did was head to the local Target and just started stealing stuff. They have it all on video. I'm not making this up. It's like full on. That's not a protest. You are not going to garner my heartfelt respect for stealing a bunch of stuff that should not have, 35, 40, 200 of you standing outside the courthouse with signs, screaming, hollering, yeah, go. You do your thing. But the minute you start, like you said, like you break a window, you start stealing, you start tearing stuff up, I'm sorry. You have gone beyond the threshold of my respect. And thankfully, I live in little Podunk, Pennsylvania, where we don't have to deal with that. Had I lived in Portland or one of these other cities where these assholes are tearing shit up night after night after night after night, that's a goddamn target-rich environment. And they are slow-moving targets because they're all high. We've all been part of night shoots. Put it on 3-round burst and just keep squeezing that trigger till it goes.
G.I. Joseph put in the chat room, looters in Portland were told they were reparation appropriations.
Yeah, that just goes with my whole theory that we need to cordon off California, Oregon, and Washington State. Give that to the leftists. If you instead of the government paying to fix all these ills, it's like, all right, open casting call. If you want to move there, we will pay for you to move there. If you want to move out, we will move you out. And then have at it. You defund your police. You eliminate your police. You let social workers go into that hopped up meth head who's got a gun to his girlfriend's head because he's hearing voices. Some blue guy in the corner is telling him, you got to kill her.
You mean hearing voices is not normal?
Well, not from a blue guy in the corner. Exactly.
It is, yeah.
And just like, they showed in that whole Chaz or Chop or whatever that little microcosm of stupidity that they had, shit's going to go sideways. And it's going to go sideways. And let it go until it becomes a wasteland. And then, all right, what do you want us to do about it? Well, fix it. No. I thought with that kid Kyle, the first thing these idiots did that were screaming about defund the police, when he put a bullet in these idiots, they started screaming for police help.
I know.
What the hell? Do you realize the hypocrisy of the nonsense that's coming out of your mouth? No, they don't. All they want is get back at the man. The man has treated me bad because I didn't get what I wanted when I was 3. I didn't get that Matchbox Corvette. Mm-hmm. I wanted a Matchbox Corvette. Mean guy. All right.
I remember you had the old style state police car, painted white and green with one bubble out top.
Oh God.
Yeah, now they got them what, gray and black?
Gray, dark gray.
Yeah. So, well,
that's for drug
more stealth. That's why you can't see that they're in there.
Drug interception versus.
And that was.
In fact, coming up here, the state police were forced. I mean, they were actively involved catching people flying.
At the end of the month, and they're short on cash.
Well, the tax revenues PAA has suffered, which is why our governor, whoever did that,
preach on.
Anyway,
yeah, that's what Governor Wolf wants to do. He, in order to get more tax money, he wants to legalize marijuana.
Yeah.
I'm done with that.
Now, the problem with legalizing marijuana is that it's still illegal at the federal government level. So when you start using marijuana, you are going to forfeit your constitutional gun rights.
Yeah. My understanding is in the bill that Pennsylvania has, if you want to get medical marijuana, you have to give up your
guns.
Guns. Well,
no, ain't gonna happen.
No.
I'm not going to use that stuff. And I use it. What guns? I get rid of. I had a boating accident.
Don't you know I'm not allowed to have a gun? What the hell's wrong with you people? Don't you even read your own information on somebody?
I took my guns out in the lake. They wanted a day at the lake and enjoy the sunshine and the fresh air.
They all fell overboard.
The boat capsized. I'm the only one that survived.
They didn't have their
life
jackets on.
No, they all drowned.
It was horrible. It was the humanity of it all. Mass suicide, whatever, mass murder. Okay, President Trump. Getting to the El Presidente. Trump promises tariffs on companies that leave U.S. So if you've been watching the commercials on TV lately from the Democratic Party, you will see that there is a bunch of people on there saying that Trump has not lived up to his promises that bringing back industry into this country. One of the most recent is the gentleman who is supposedly a former steel worker who shows an abandoned factory that looks like it's been abandoned for 20 years because it's got ivy growing on it, all the windows broke out, all the underbrush growing around the facility and that, and you just barely make out the chain link fence going around it because that's all intertwined with scrub brush. And Trump promised to bring the steel industry back to the United States, but that has not materialized. Well, first of all, you son of a bitch, you have to understand, Trump's been fighting an uphill battle all the way. The people that traded those jobs away are dragging their feet and giving him the necessary tools to allow them to bring it back.
Biden.
Yeah, Biden,
Pelosi. Feinstein.
Yeah, even probably Sanders and Soros and anyway.
Oh, good Lord.
Anyway, President Trump said on Thursday that if he is reelected, his administration will impose tariffs on any company that leaves the United States.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your thought.
Okay. He would impose tariffs on any country or any company that leaves the United States to create jobs elsewhere. We will impose tariffs on any company that leaves America to produce jobs overseas. Trump said in an acceptance speech at the Republican National Convention. We will make sure our companies and jobs stay in our country, as I've already been doing. Joe Biden's agenda is made in China. My agenda is made in the USA. That is no lie. Trump portrayed himself as having been willing to challenge China on trade during his speech to the party faithful and asserted that there was Democratic rival in the November election. Joe Biden would not be as tough. Former real estate developer spent much of his first term waging a trade war against China over its trade policies, technology transfers, and industrial policies, imposing punitive tariffs on $370 billion worth of Chinese imports. In May, he threatened to impose new taxes on American companies that produce goods outside the U.S. Another move his administration could make is to punish supply chains, to push supply chains away from China and raise a new trade barriers. Trump made a similar comment last week during a campaign event in Pennsylvania when he said, "We will give tax credits to companies to bring jobs back to America. If we don't do it, we will put tariffs on those companies and they will have to pay us a lot of money." Okay. I have to agree with you on that. I mean, I don't like Trump, but the man knows business. And for years, our leaders in Washington of Tons, District of Criminals, has been trading our jobs away. Trump realizes the only way to keep America going and free is to have our own industry here in our country. Supply chain. It does not behoove us to have those. Perfect example. Some of the components of the F-16, especially the electrical harnesses, I believe, were made in Japan. So you have to get them made in Japan, fly to the United States, and then put them in the aircraft. Our
Who's to say the Japanese don't have a back door to that stuff?
Yeah. So the point is, as far as our defense mechanism goes, it needs to be in-house manufactured, not outside sources. And that's just one part of our problem. But Trump is trying to bring the economy back. He was doing a good job of it until the coronavirus came. And I still believe and still convinced that the Chinese released this coronavirus on purpose to do two things: destroy the economy and bring Trump down so that the communist Democrats would get elected and therefore capitulate to the Chinese and allow them to have their trade status back, or preferred trade status, or actually end up being the occupying force.
George Soros made a comment not so long ago that he thinks that China needs to be a new world leader. England had their chance. The U.S. has had their chance at it now. Let's go with China.
Well, he's got his fingers in every pie across the goddamn globe.
Well, he hates the United States. He's said that more once than that his mission is to destroy the United States.
Yeah, and the sad part of it is,
And he was naturalized a citizen, so I naturalized him and deported him, or that throw him in jail, or just wherever he's living, just say like big Moab and take him out.
I think he ought to be tried for treason myself.
Works for me, and then shot.
Inciting riots by funding the rioters. If you can't get him for treason, then get him for inciting a riot, a public nuisance. There are plenty of things you can arrest him on. I know he's got lots of money. But if you have a good court system, or if you have a good smart DA, you can postpone and keep them in jail. Under the Patriot Act, you can keep them in jail without bail and don't have to tell anybody where you got them hidden. And, make the guy disappear. Don't kill him, but just make him disappear. Then maybe he'll become another one of those jail-induced suicides, like Epstein.
I don't think he knows enough about Hillary. All right, I got something to say. This is a little off what we're talking about. Y'all heard about that in Portland, I guess it was yesterday, last night. There was a group of right-wingers versus left-wingers going at it. And one of the guys for the Trump supporters was killed, shot and killed. Here is a post from this guy named Andy Ngo. He writes. He's a journalist. He writes a lot about the right-leaning stuff. And he's been blocked from just about every major platform out there. He posted this. After finding out that it was a Blue Lives Matter supporter who was killed, Antifa in Portland are very happy. They're dancing and chanting now. One of their posters. The energy is joyous now. Dancing, chanting, and American flag burns. And this dude has a dope sign. It's all about because that guy died. A Trump supporter was murdered. And that is the shit that's going on out there.
And nobody is trying to put a stop to it.
And no one's even reporting it.
That would not do.
If they reported it, it would, people would be up in arms about it.
People would be raising holy shit, and all these demonstrations would start to break up and start to dissipate.
No, we have mainstream media censorship.
Oh, Jesus.
They're only going to tell us what they want to tell us, and then that's going to be a lie anyway.
And how many times have you? I know I shouldn't watch the mainstream media, but I like to watch it for one reason. I don't care for it, but I do watch it for one reason: to see what the enemy is saying and not saying. Okay, and then I go to the internet to several different independent sources and pull up stories and read about what they're saying that the mainstream news media has not said. And that's why I tell you out there, people, when the story first breaks, you'll get the most truth in the first hour. After that, they've had time for the censors to rewrite it.
I recall.
Most of your truths will then start to show up about 30 days later, just like Floyd. Turns out he was pumped full of methamphetamine.
Methamphetamine and fentanyl.
Yeah, fentanyl, that's it. He was higher than a skunk. That's what killed him. The knee and the neck didn't help, but that's what killed him.
Yep. Well, I recall back, it was before you went off to your indentured servitude at the concentration camp, whatever you want to call it. It was when you still had the gun shop and whatnot. I forget who was here, but I had stopped in and you guys were talking about a video that you had seen on, I totally forget the details. Mind you, this was back in probably the mid to late 90s. How there was like some sort of natural disaster or like a plane crash, and there was just, it was all very fishy. And you were saying that you had seen X, Y, and Z printed on, let's say, this aircraft. And this guy's like, yeah, I saw a video of that here an hour ago. This was like a day later. He's like, yeah, that wasn't there. You know, and like you said, you know, there's, and I'm not saying that everything that they say is wrong, but there's a lot of weirdness out there that just
Clinton administration when the who was it? Brown? I think his plane, his Air Force plane, is the one that crashed going to someplace. He was supposed to have found a hole in his head.
Yeah, he shot himself in the back of the head twice. It was suicide.
Yeah.
A female crewman who survived her crash was then found dead. She just died of her injuries. But her injuries weren't life-threatening. They just killed her because she knew that the plane was brought down.
Bingo! Go ahead, Bingo.
Nothing is being said on most of the mainstream sites. Did y'all see that story out of Georgia?
5-year-old?
No, there were like 30-some kids, young kids, found in a double-wide
38.
a double-wide home
By the marshals?
by the U.S. Marshals that were like had been investigating this like human trafficking ring. Some as young as 3 goddamn years old.
I saw a blurb about it,
A
but
blurb.
I've seen nothing more since.
Exactly, because there are so many weirdos in Hollywood, in Washington, and everywhere else that are so caught up in this whole pedophile weirdness that they're squashing that shit.
First thing you do is you allow the gays to come out of the closet and do their demonstrations to become accepted members of society. Okay? Then they go and now we want to take and corrupt the minds of the young by having school classes.
Normalize pedophilia. Make that.
That's what basically that's what they're headed for. But you take and now you have alternative lifestyles is being taught in schools to teach your kids about homosexuality. Okay? Then you now have the influence of the transgenders, those who can't tell whether they are a man or a girl. And I've always said it's real easy. If you look down and you got something hanging there, you're a guy. If you don't, you're a girl.
Innie or outie.
Yeah. Okay? So, if you got it hanging, you go to the boys' room. If you don't, you go to the girls' room. They got it so they can do each. Now they're working on the pedophiles.
I went to go back to find his article, but there was an article that stated that there was a school, I can't remember where, that they're going to teach the youngsters how to pleasure themselves.
Yeah, masturbate.
And pleasure each other. I mean, are they in class? Or part of phys ed or what? And I went to go back to find that and it disappeared. Then this all day, an article, somebody, pedophilia is normal. It needs to be accepted. Guys can't help it. And other garbage. I'm sorry.
The reason that's being put out there that way, that guys can't help it that it's perfectly wrong, is to be able to decriminalize
I know.
and make it so it's an accepted.
Here's okay. I just had a thought while I was out there, related to myself, and I'm not going to try to slight your Catholic religion, but this whole thing popped into my head. They're trying to normalize, being sexual relations with young people, but if a priest if it comes out that a priest had some sort of illicit relationship, it's awful because it's Christian.
No, it's Catholic.
I
wish I still had it somewhere. Probably in the computer that crashed. Mine. And the FBI statistics released some years ago that when you looked at adult sexual abuse, men abusing young men and boys, okay, there are more abusers among Protestant ministers, Jewish rabbis, and Boy Scout counselors and stuff than there were Catholic priests. But Catholic priests aren't supposed to do that. So that was, oh wow, we get it really blows that proportion.
He was my scoutmaster.
Oh. And
You're whispering that I was a scoutmaster? Yes, I was for 7 years.
My scoutmaster.
Yeah.
But
but I know there are bishops and higher that have thwarted authorities by, okay, let's say you've been accused by, okay, we're going to shift you someplace else, maybe within a diocese, or maybe we'll give you to another diocese, and
make it go away.
Make you go away, and they don't go away.
Yeah.
But there's a case now in Pittsburgh. The priest is long dead. Okay, I forget how many years he's been dead. But young man come forward and said, well, he abused me. Can you prove it? He can't defend himself.
Yeah. How many of them would just want to pay it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Now you see. Go ahead, let you finish about the Boy Scouts.
No. I was just being a dick because you were my scoutmaster, and he mentions Boy Scouts.
I'll bring it up then.
No. Okay, going back to Boy Scouts, I was very active all through my adolescent years, up until I went in the Army as a Boy Scout, an assistant scoutmaster, Mr. Pain in the ass, cracker pot, jerk. Shit man over here was my scoutmaster at one point. At any rate, when I went to Custalouga Town, our local scout reservation, and they started having classes for adult leaders on pedophilia and all this other stuff. And a lot of the guys were like, most of the scoutmasters back then were like, they were rednecks. Like, I camp. I ain't touching them kids. What? But, and I understand now, looking back, why they did. But I just, my first, 6 or 7 years as a scout, I was in a different troop than before I met Daryl. And I never, ever had the slightest inclination that my scoutmasters had any bad intention, and when I started hearing that, I'm like, this is just so out of context for me.
Well, there was,
and I'm sure there's weirdos out there.
Supposedly, all this started. Some of this actually started back in the 40s after WW2.
Yeah, that's the latest news or advertisements about Boy Scouts and the suits are going back 70 years. Okay. Number one, most of those who may have been involved as the perpetrator are long dead. And number two, it goes back how many were actually abused and how many are in, because of the amount of advertisement, how many are being drawn to the possible cash settlement. Okay?
Well, that's what this is, this guy, okay? He's now in his 30s, I think it was. Anyway, he's not. Yeah, like, why did you wait so long? And I was doing it until I got locked out of Facebook for 2 more weeks now. Beginning tomorrow.
You're still locked out, huh?
You're in jail.
But the thing is, I have two sites. They put me in jail 30 days on both of them. And the other side, wait a minute. I didn't say anything bad. Like, my comment I thought was humorous because the protesters that were up, they got the green lawyer.
Somebody got butthurt.
Okay, that place that makes tear gas. Well, the communist bastard that Facebook didn't think it was too humorous.
But
anyway.
you see, these social medias, I'll get to you, Mr. The Pete and Gallery, 34th row and the third seat over from the right. The problem with the social media, it is a controlled media. It is controlling what you're allowed to say. It is in violation of your freedom of speech.
But they're a private company, so they can get away with it.
Yeah. But I don't use social media. I really have no use for them, other than I'm using YouTube for this right here.
Most of my kids are on social media. So.
Go ahead.
I have a question for this gentleman.
Oh, me.
Did you ever go to Afghanistan?
No.
Okay.
My second tour, I probably came within.
All right. Well, here's what I'm getting at. We were talking about the Catholics being hammered for their bad behavior. Well, aside from what really happened, whatever. I have seen a shit ton of stories on alternative media about the imams, like in Afghanistan and various other countries, that were just boy diddlers.
Oh, yeah.
Just doing awful. I mean, and there's videos of it. Mm-hmm. There's videos of
U.S. troops told do not interfere.
Do not. Yeah. Well, there was one spec ops guy that got in all kinds of trouble because he pulled this Taliban leader out and he shot him in the face. He's like, not on my watch. He killed the guy, and I think he's still battling the courts with all that. But that is just not right. Not for boys, girls, grasshoppers. I don't care. They just ain't right.
See, it's not right, but under their eyes, it's right. It's okay under their eyes.
Under their eyes.
Yeah.
But by the same token,
why is the media demonizing Catholics?
Because
and not
Islam is off limits. For some stupid reason, Islam is off limits.
Yeah, I can't talk.
You make a comment against Islam on social media.
Boom! You are hammered.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. My friend that was up here yesterday will tell you right now. The Islamic people that believe in the Quran are the most two-faced, lying bunch of shitheads there are. Because he says if you read the Quran, he says one paragraph talks about all loving and all this and that, but the next paragraph talks about if you have a superior number among the infidels, to kill them.
Kill them or enslave them or it's craziness.
But you can't say anything. You can't tell the truth about them
because you're bad.
Yeah.
You know what? I was watching TV the other day, and there was this guy on there. I think his name was Mr. T. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. And he had a gun, and I was scared of him, and I'm pretty sure he's the devil.
What program was that you were watching?
It was called The Devil and Mr. T.
The Devil and Mr. T.
I'm just making it.
What channel was that on?
I think it was Pornhub.
Was that like this? I had this.
No, it was there was this guy named Johnny Holmes that he played your character, and I'm just making it up as I go along. I have no idea what's coming out of my mouth next.
Let's see.
Maybe you drink some more.
Yeah.
Well, I think I just will.
Have another shot. It might clear your thoughts.
It'll get them going anyhow. That's for goddamn.
Either that or it'll anesthetize you.
And I found this article about Portland protesters, and it's written right on the page. Daryl eats bugs.
Yeah, they're a good source of protein. It's fresh meat.
I'm not sure if it's true or not, but here we go. Portland protesters set sights on mayor's condo police union building. This was from Saturday, August 29th. Protesters in Portland gathered Friday in front of Mayor Ted Wheeler's condo in the building that houses the city's police union, the Oregonian reported. The Oregonian posts a lot of really slanted shit. At any rate, they have asked Wheeler to resign due to a failure to properly handle police violence in Portland. David Kahn, who lives in the building, said Wheeler was not home during the protest. He probably called him and said, "Hey, I'm not going to be home. Come make the news." At any rate, he goes on to say, "I'm certain that if he was here tonight, we probably could have arranged for something, but he's not." Demonstrations, which many describe as peaceful, also happened in front of the Portland Police Association building. As long as they're peaceful and they're just voicing their concerns, go you. At any rate, back to what I'm saying. But a police statement tells another story, saying protesters lit a mattress on fire and placed it against the door leading to the Portland Police Association building. It also said a dumpster was also set on fire close by. Police also said they tried to move protesters from the building and put the fire out while people threw rocks and other objects at them, which is fireworks. I've seen that on video. Well, police have said they arrested multiple people. It is not clear how many that was or on what they charged them. That's all I have to say about that.
I'm a similar vein. In Pittsburgh, okay, there are protests going on, and one guy was constantly in the road blocking traffic. So, Pittsburgh police, unmarked vehicle, come up and snatch him off the road. Took him away.
Listen.
And so people started protesting in front of the mayor's house, Mayor Peduto.
Pardon my interruption. Fuck you, Michael.
Anyway, protested. Now, one story said the mayor was home, one story said he wasn't. Because supposedly he came back, saw the graffiti stuff. He goes, graffiti can be cleaned up, broken windows can be replaced. Okay. And he's ordered the Pittsburgh police not to do such stuff again. Well, they got this guy off the street. He was blocking traffic, running across the road. Okay. Well, he got killed or somebody else got hurt. Now, I just saw recently that Mayor Peduto has given in to one of the demands by BLM. That for Pittsburgh, he's going to declare Juneteenth a city holiday. So that's what, around June 19th or something, I guess.
Apparently June 19th is the date that everyone says is the date that slaves were declared free.
Well,
I didn't know that this year.
I'm trying to think, it was a Galveston, Texas or someplace. The Union Army comes in and tells slaves, "Hey, you guys are free." And that's, I think it was Galveston or something. Texas anyway. So that's where Juneteenth came from. And now, I guess being next year in Pittsburgh, it'll be a city holiday. And Peduto is a Democrat.
Well, like Trump said, if you look at the cities and the state governors, the places that are having the most civil unrest, unchecked civil unrest, is the cities that are controlled by the Democrats and the states that are controlled by the Democrats. I know people are, "Oh my God, he said that. What a racist he is." And
racist, you're telling the truth.
Yeah, well, anytime you tell the truth, it's racist. It's hate speech. It doesn't make. Did any of you see this story about Ron Paul?
Oh, I saw the videos
where he thanked the police for helping him out because there was a mob there, and he was he's made the statement, mob would have killed us if not for the police.
You need some more liquid there.
So, here's the case. I wonder what the news media would have said if Ron Paul had pulled out a pistol from underneath his coat and plugged a few of the attackers. Okay? What would have happened to that man? We know what would happen to John Doe, the white man. He would be going to jail for mass murder, and even though he was being assaulted. You will allow yourself to be assaulted and killed. Do not resist. We will bury you. Yeah, well, if I don't resist, you're going to bury me, and if I do resist, you're going to bury me. So, if that is the case, I'm going to resist and send as many of you bastards to hell as I can.
Little COVID-19.
Yeah, sir.
All right, real quick. I mentioned earlier that there was a Black Lives Matter protest march in Edinburgh, PA, which is my alma mater, close to here. Yep, I'll read the story real quick. It's been a weekend of, according to Erie News Now. It's a local news agency. It's been a weekend of Black Lives Matter protests here in Erie County, Saturday in the city of Erie, and this afternoon in Edinburgh. Dozens of protesters marched from Edinburgh University to the Edinburgh Public Library seeking justice in policing for people of color. French Creek Indivisible organizes protests in hopes to create change right here in our region. They didn't say they were on the Edinburgh campus, which from what I understand, they started at the edge of the campus and marched down the main street, skirting the campus to the public library, right by John's Wildwood Pizza. Anyway, if we make this issue a one-person issue and a one-group issue, then we miss the deeper roots of it, that racism is systemic, said Lydia Lath, French Creek Indivisible. This starts right here in your backyard, where you are informing your neighbors, your residents. These are the experiences of black and brown people. They're real, they're happening, and they're part of the issue if you continue to be silent about them, said Autumn Parker, protester. Sunday's protests remained peaceful and began and lasted close to 2 hours, beginning at 1 p.m.
Did it have a breakdown of how many were people of color?
Said nothing. It just...
Because I'm seeing a lot of white young idiots out there with them.
Well, they want to be part of the change.
There was a story earlier this week, where a couple were sitting in a restaurant eating their lunch, and then a mob from the Black Lives Matter came up to the restaurant, started beating on the windows and trying to intimidate the people, and half of them were whiteies.
Yep. We have 4 minutes left.
Wannabes.
4 minutes left.
Yeah. We have 4 minutes left. What do you got, Mr. T?
Real quick, COVID-19 in Europe. Due to a rise in COVID-19 infections, the country of Hungary will shut down its borders again on September 1st. The border will be shut down for 1 month. Hungarian citizens returning to Hungary must have proof of 2 consecutive virus tests or self-quarantine, where they're virus-free, or self-quarantine for 15 days. This also goes to anybody that is visiting that gets in just, at the same time the border shut down. But now, Hungary closed down its borders once before, rather. And the European Union and other countries are up in arms that, you shut down your borders.
Racist!
Well, since Hungary shut down its borders once before, Hungary has only had some 5,500 cases of COVID-19 with 614 fatalities. Okay.
Well,
they know what to do, apparently.
You don't see anything about the coronavirus in Italy anymore, do you?
There is a resurgence in Europe. Actually,
Yeah, I know,
but it's
but-
not so much on the news anymore.
I know. And I'm just wondering if that's because it was so bad in Italy that everybody died.
Everybody.
So they can't have a resurgence in Italy. That's why they're not talking about it, because everybody died. So Italy is free for the taking, people!
Oh, I want to make a real quick statement. Y'all remember that kid that was shot by his neighbor, little 5-year-old boy was shot in the head?
They said
Does anyone else realize a 17-year-old that defended himself, police, and businesses against attackers is getting more hate than a grown man shooting a 5-year-old?
Yes, I'm not surprised at
That's
all.
all I have to say about that.
Not surprised at all.
Any final comments from anybody?
Epstein did not kill himself. Mr. T is a bad person. Daryl is mean, and I like whiskey. Bye.
You want to straighten him up any?
If I did have to shoot him.
Well, that's one solution.
What did they used to call that? Wall-to-wall counseling?
Yeah, your brain's all over the wall.
Oh, no, just getting your ass kicked around the day room.
My newer NCOs or your fellow soldiers. Anyway, best thing I advise is keep abreast of the local situation in your neighborhoods, city, towns, townships. For those that want to buy ammunition, keep checking what's available. Your internet sales, your local stores. Buying a decent weapon is probably going to be cost prohibitive. Might find one for under $1,000. I doubt it, but you never know.
I am putting on October the 10th and 11th a gun show at Cherry Tree Township Fire Hall, Cherry Tree, PA, which is just a little ways south of Titusville. So be there. And then also I will have, hopefully by the time our next show, because remember we're not having a show next week because of the holiday, I'm hoping to have a list of gun shows that are coming up by then. And that.
Talk to your friends and neighbors about trading stuff. Bullets,
Yeah.
beans.
Barter. If you have an ample supply of something and your neighbor doesn't, and he may have something that you need, don't be afraid to talk to him about trading. Bartering is going to be, I hate to use their term, but bartering may just end up being the new normal, which would be the old normal, because that was the way things were done years ago before there was a lot of money. It was barter. So at that point,
Wait a minute, Jack. Tomorrow starts my 3rd week in Facebook jail. So I'll have 2 weeks to go. On both my pages, even though only one page was supposedly violated community standards.
so you might be out by the time our next show comes into exec.
The Monday after.
Well, it'll be the Monday after. Well, maybe you could plead your case and give them.
No, I commented to them, and they said your statement violated community standards, and they closed it. Case is now closed. I don't say anything else.
Okay, well, on that note, folks, remember, we will not be here next week because it is Labor Day weekend. I'm hoping to get some final things done at the undisclosed location, and we will be seeing you in 2 weeks. I don't have my calendar in front of me that I can read it. That's in September. That would be September the 11th, I do believe. Right? Yeah, because Monday the 7th. Yeah, that'll be September the 11th. Okay, kids, we will see you then, and stay frosty, my friends. And don't forget, even if you have lots of 22s, buy more if you can find them, because they will be used as barter.
No, next weekend. No, the 7th is actually Labor Day, so it won't be
Yeah.
until the